Hi. Um, Thank you to those people who said, yeah, they'd love to hear about the annual review that I'm doing for myself. It's a bit of a worksheet that I run through. Um, I'll probably be turning it into something a bit more official down the track, but at this stage, it is just my notes on a page. What you'll need in order to do the annual review with me is you'll need a journal and a notepad. Surprise, surprise. A pen or a pencil. I mean, the objective of this isn't necessarily to be neat. I can show you how messy I get. So it's not to be neat, it's just to get those ideas and the thoughts out of your head and onto paper, and then you get to decide what's important to you and what's worth working on. The reason that you do it is that it's important having a clear, realistic view of the year gone by, and it'll really help you to make some healthy decisions for your year ahead, and maybe not repeat patterns or behaviours that haven't served you. So really what you want to do is you want to take the best of your work from last year, you want to take and amplify that in the year ahead, and you want to kind of leave behind any behaviours and any actions or people or what have you that aren't serving you, because ultimately, we want to live our best life for now and into the future, and we want to be our best selves. So that's why I really like this exercise, and I'm really into personal development and understanding the way that we function as humans. So it all sort of falls within that sphere. So I'm going to start running through some of the questions. You don't have to answer all of the questions. There are a lot of them, but a lot of them are designed just to be prompts, to help you think about each area of your life. So I'm going to go through a few different areas. So there's your general questions, so a bit of an overview. There's relationships. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions about what kind of relationships you want to have, what kind of relationships you had in the last year. We're going to look at your business and your work life. We're going to look at your thought patterns and personal development. So that's going to be, I think that's where kind of the crux of the whole exercise is, because I think that's where you'll be able to notice the biggest difference or make the most impact in your year ahead, is if you start looking at your thought patterns and how you can develop yourself as a person to be better and do better. And then I've included this year self-care because it's really, really important. So I feel like I've covered off some very, very important areas, and I'm just going to start listing out some questions. I'll make it nice and conversational. What I'd really like for you guys is, while you're doing this, to have a think about how it could be better. So give me some feedback. Let me know what you got out of it, whether or not it was helpful, whether or not you felt a bit overwhelmed. I find it helps, but I definitely do not answer all of these questions. And each year I add more and more questions. So it's probably a bit War and Peacey, but I'm finding it quite helpful. So I'm just going to go through some of the questions now. So if you'd like to take your pen and paper out and just take notes as you go. Once again, it doesn't have to be neat, just dot points or even just a word that summarizes everything. So if you just want to make note of a couple of highlights that you had in the last year, and then thinking about, even just one highlight, what choices did you make in the lead up to that brought the best outcomes? So what was it? Can you replicate it? Is it something that you did really well? Tell me about what you're proud of. Is there anything that you'd like to do more of in the new year that you did and worked for you last year? Let's do more of that. In your relationships. So how are you feeling about your relationships over the last year? Do you feel as though you spent enough quality time with them? Do you feel like you had a deep connection? Because of the isolation of work and life and family and everything, it gets it gets harder and harder to feel that deeper connection, or it can feel that way. But there are a lot of studies that show that the deeper your connection with the people around you, the better you feel about yourself, the better you feel about your life, and the happier you are, and the more satisfaction you have in your life. So, if you want to take note of a couple of relationships that are really important to you, and important that you want to nurture over the next year, and then, if there's any relationships you want to improve or that need work and particular attention, to note those down. In your business and your work life, what are you most proud of in the last year? Just take a moment to list all of your achievements and areas of the business or work where you feel like you added the most value over the last year. I know if you work for someone else or a corporation, you probably do an annual review around financial year. This is very similar to that. Where do you feel like you've added the most value to the business? And where do you want to invest your energies for the next year? What could you improve on? What are some areas where, if you looked back on how things performed with the knowledge that you have now, how would you do things differently? Or would you do everything the same? Either way, note it down. What areas of your business or the business did you notice that with more time and energy you could have gone further? Is that something you want to make space for in the next year? So those are a few questions that I asked myself around the business. Most of it's a bit, it's a bit top level. We don't get into the nitty gritty for this annual review. We just want to get an overarching, idea of what really worked for you and what filled your soul and what filled your cup and made working something that you enjoyed doing over the last year. So then I move on to thought patterns and personal development. So this is where you ask yourself about any thought processes or patterns that you noticed in yourself in the past year. This could be, the way that you talk to yourself, thought patterns that when something, how you respond when something happens outside of your control, thought patterns that occur regularly. So for example, before posting anything, I always ask myself, is this something that anyone will care about? And sometimes my answer is no one cares. And then other times I'm like, you know what, you do have a voice and you have something of value to add to this beautiful, amazing world. And so, that's something that I continually talk back or work on in myself. There are other patterns of behavior that I notice in myself. So in the last year, I've noticed that I am very attached to my phone. I said it. I spend too much time on my phone, and I catch myself on my phone in a vortex when I should be doing other things that are very important and that I know I should be doing, and then I catch myself in them. So that's a pattern that I've noticed in the last year has escalated to a point where I really, really want to do something about it, and I'm really, really going to do something about it. So I wrote quite a bit about that in my notes. It's not just negative patterns and behavior that you want to look at. You want to look at things that you're also proud of in the last year. So are there any patterns that you want to focus on improving? Are there any patterns that are really working for you that you want to make sure that they continue to serve you well? Because that's the whole point of working on your thought patterns and your personal development, is making sure that the way that you're behaving, the way that you're thinking, the way that you're acting is all serving you and helping you to live your best life. So, have a think about some kind of times when you were being your best self. What did you notice? And when you did respond well to things, how did that make you feel? Were there any activities that you did in personal development during the year? Was there any key takeaways from those? Was there a particular podcast or book or event you intended that you would like to influence your year in the future? If there is, write that down. This is the time, this is the place, because this is, you'll be able to look back on this during the year and make sure that you include a little bit of that, those inspirations or those references to help you whenever you're a bit stuck. If there was something that you wanted to achieve during the year and it didn't work out, what were the barriers that came up for you for that? Was it something external to you, or was it an internal or a mental one? And how would you get past that? What did you find challenging this year for you? Whether that's an activity or just a mental challenge. How did you face it? Was there something that you did well? And how would you approach that situation now, knowing what you know? Yes. And then into your self-care. So when you think about self-care, do you feel like you took good care of yourself? Are there any areas in taking care of yourself that you can improve on? For example, this year I kind of dropped a lot of my exercise regime. So, next year I'd like to improve on being more consistent with that. And again, with food, I probably have had more hot chips than I would have wanted. And in fact, I think last year one of my New Year's resolutions was to have less hot chips, and I feel like maybe this year I may have gone over the top. Yeah. So there's some areas where taking care of myself I could improve on. So taking care of my diet, taking care of my exercise. Did you protect your energy this year? So what did you do that worked for you to take care of yourself? Did you take breaks when you needed to, or did you put your needs last? Did you have enough holidays this year? Just thinking about or asking yourself the question, did I actually take enough holiday last year? No, I did not. And that's, you feel like maybe sometimes we don't ask ourselves if we did enough to recharge our batteries, so that we can go into each week or each month with a new energy and, really bring it. Has there been anything that, is there anything else that you could possibly do, that you really would like to do better? Are there any areas of your life that you feel that with a bit of, focused energy and intentional thought and action that you could really make a difference in your life? So that's pretty much the brain dump of 4,000 questions. And I hope that you've enjoyed it. Even if you've only taken down a couple of dot points, I hope that at the very least these questions have prompted you to have a think about your year gone by, and think on what sort of things you did really well, so you can take those in and know that you can make it even better. And if there are any areas of improvement, it's a great time of year to look at that and go, how am I going to intentionally be better and do better, and invest my time and energy in things that are going to pay off for me. Okay, so thank you so much. Please give me feedback on whether it helped, whether or not there were some other areas of your life where you wanted some prompts or some questions. So thank you very much. If you have any questions or anything at all, just pop me an email. Okay, thank you so much.